Look, once upon a time, and I heard that I was ugly. Came from a chick who wanna touch. I said my face bomb, abs tight, rack stuck up, shack height, jury on me, flashlight. I've been listening since last night. Hit 'em with that good, make you wanna act right. Broke boys don't deserve no kitty. I know that's right. Big bag, bustin' out the Bentley band, take a man, Balenciaga.
Welcome back to another episode of Podward State. We're back for episode 12. We had our little Thanksgiving break bye week. My name is Sam Brungo. I'm here with my co-host, Grace Cunningham. Grace, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did you have a good break?
I did have a good break.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Anything
How was yours?
Fun?
Not really.
Yeah, mine was all right.
Can't really remember like that much that happened.
It was like kind of quick. I'm excited for Christmas break. I'm getting burnt out.
Yeah.
Anyways, on this episode we have Penn State letterman, kind of baller. He was kind of a baller when he was here. 2011 team captain, wide receiver Derek Moye. Yeah, it was pretty cool to talk to him. I connected with him at one of the games, and he asked me to take a picture of him and his friends.
Of him?
Yeah, a picture of him with like Daryl Clark, who we talk about, and Chaz Powell. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Like, I had talked to him in a couple games, and then I was like, yeah, I'll take a picture of you if you come on my show. And he was like, yeah, for sure, or whatever. And then but
now it can be the picture on the thumbnail.
Definitely, it's a great picture.
Perfect.
All right, so we got some headlines coming in. Heavy headlines, heavy it's called heavy slate of headlines here. 2 weeks worth. Then we got some final football chat of the season. Yeah, cool. Let's get into it. Joining us now for our first headline, we got editor Hailey Stutzman. How's it going, Hailey?
I'm good, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing good. How was Black Friday?
Oh, you know what? Okay, 7-minute drive to work, right? Took me 3 hours. So
Woo!
I was 2 hours late to work.
Why didn't you walk?
God.
I was thinking about it, but by the time I got to like the highway area, it was too late to walk. But like my coworkers, when they drove on the back road, they got out of their car and walked an hour to work.
Jeez.
Is your jacket from...
Yeah, that's from North Face.
Nice. But did you get it when you were working on Black Friday?
No, I didn't. I couldn't.
Oh, you're
Too
not allowed
busy.
to? Oh, okay.
Anyways, we're happy you had fun. You were looking forward to that. All right, let's get into it with some headlines. Ready to go.
Okay, so from November 22nd to January 2nd, 4-hour parking will be free at the borough's Beaver, Fraser, and Pew garages. Free parking validations will be handed out to customers by downtown businesses. Free street and surface parking lot within a 3-hour limit will also be available during that same time period. From December 22nd to January 2nd, free and unlimited garage parking will be available too. That's nice.
Cool.
I love this because I'm
Yeah,
here over
that is
break,
nice
and
for
it's
you.
really nice. Last night's now that I have like a parking lot at my house, but or like a driveway, but when I was at the apartments, it was really nice because I could park for free and didn't have to worry about potentially getting towed,
That is nice.
which would happen to all my friends when they would come and just park at our apartment. But there was a lot next to us, which was cool.
I got tickets all the time last year because I'd forget to move my car.
Yeah. Where do you park?
Now I park at my apartment, like in the little lot behind there.
Cool. Yeah, so that's nice. Shout out to State College, something fun they do. Not fun, but nice for the downtown people. They do that in the summer too, which is awesome.
Nice. Okay. So, Downtown State College Tattoo Parlor and Piercing Studio Iconic Inc. is set to move locations sometime in the coming months. An Iconic employee confirmed the business's plan to move to a location on Allen Street by February 2022. The new spot will be right next to Appalachian Outdoors, which actually closed part of its former retail space to make room for the new Iconic location.
Cool. Good for them.
Is Iconic the one that's like next to Panera?
Yes. Sorry.
Appalachian Outdoors. My manager, he's transferring to Penn State next semester, and he was like, you should work there with me because they sell
It's
North
nice
Face.
in
App
there.
House, yeah.
You should.
No, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
In the half that closed, that's where I rented that tent when I fake slept on the old man lawn.
Oh.
They're very cool. The owner, Jeff Brugler, went to lives in Bollesburg, and I grew up with his son, and he has done like some of the coolest things. He like hiked part of Everest. He like once just went and did the whole entire Snake River
Oh my God, my manager would love him.
Yeah, he's cool. He's awesome.
You should work in there. It's nice in there. I bought a water bottle one
I
time.
would like that.
So shout out Jeff Brugler. You guys got some new neighbors. Jeff's gonna get tatted up. Anyways, cool. Now we got sound technician, associate producer Jordan Mansberger. Jordy with the beard.
What? Oh, dude, I was just too lazy to shave over break.
It looks good.
What? You look good, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Aw.
Let's go.
All right, Jordy's got some headlines for us. Jordy, what do you have?
Yeah, so Penn State student Justine Gross, who we talked about earlier, she was found dead last week after previously being reported missing, reportedly died following a fall, according to a new report from NJ.com published Thursday night. The 19-year-old student's mother told NJ.com that her daughter died last week after falling into an 11-story trash chute at Beaver Terrace Apartments in downtown State College. Her body was reportedly discovered by a trash hauler at a Pennsylvania landfill on Friday. On Friday, November 12th, one day after she was reported missing, Gross's mother said she spoke with a man who allegedly offered Justine a blunt on November 10th. He said she later freaked out after taking the drug, ran into the building's top floor, and jumped into the chute. Since reporting her death last Friday, State College police have referred to the incident as accidental in nature, but have continued an ongoing investigation. Toxicology results and a full report from the Center County Coroner's Office, which should be available in 4 to 6 weeks, should paint a clearer picture.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Didn't have very much information about the case. This, I guess, sheds a little bit light on it. Still kind of an odd case.
It's super weird.
Yeah, very sad. Still thoughts and prayers to her and her family.
Penn State football letterman Steve Smith died Saturday following a decades-long battle with Lou Gehrig's disease. He was 57. Smith served as captain and fullback on Penn State's 1986 national championship team. He scored 4 touchdowns and posted nearly 500 all-purpose yards for the title-winning Nittany Lions that year.
Yeah, that's sad. Thoughts and prayers also to his family. I believe he had a NFL career where he was a dope fullback for the Raiders. Which is an awesome position, so respect to him. Thoughts and prayers to his family as well.
Yeah, and then next we got former Penn State Associate Athletic Director for Business Relations and Communication, Greg Myford, passed away Tuesday morning after a 2-year battle with cancer. After graduating from Penn State, Myford worked in professional sports and held executive positions for the Detroit Pistons and Tampa Bay Lightning. Returning to Penn State in 2004, he played a large role in making Penn State athletics, the Penn State athletics program, what it is today. The last few years, he had been working as the athletic director at the University of Alaska Anchorage.
Yeah, this one's sad. Big part of Penn State athletics over the decade that he was here. His family grew up in State College, and we know them pretty well, and he was a great guy. So this one's sad, thinking about his family, thoughts and prayers to them. But definitely left a big impact on Penn State athletics as well as Alaska Anchorage. So rest in peace. Now we got Charlie Pegler joining us with the New York Giants hat. His middle name actually is Manning.
Not after Eli, but yeah. Go
so,
Giants.
Go Giants. Go Blue.
Go Blue. Big Blue.
The Giants, not going to lie, really screwed me over in fantasy last week because I had Jalen Hurts, and they intercepted him like 3 times, but it should have been
like
40.
5. Jalen Hurts should have been taken out of that game.
He played very poorly in that game, but he has done well for me all season. Just in the one game that I really needed him, he got me like 8 points.
Don't bet against the G-men.
I did actually. I put money on Eagles cover, but
wow.
Anyways, what do you got for us here?
So yeah, former Penn State football star QB Trace McSorley signed with the Arizona Cardinals, according to Adam Schefter. According to Shefty. So, I mean, that's awesome. We love Trace.
I'm so happy about this because it gets him off the Ravens, so I can actually root for him now.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good for Trace.
He did throw his first career touchdown against the Steelers. We talked about that in season 3.
Started him in fantasy that week because I was already out of the playoffs.
Oh.
Scored me like 9 points.
Oh, nice.
It was crazy.
Yeah. We still won that game.
I know.
It was like a Wednesday. Do you remember that?
Oh, it was Tuesday.
Tuesday?
I think it was a Tuesday.
It was a weird.
That was really weird. It was right
Steelers,
after school.
Steelers played every single day that year.
Yeah.
COVID.
Oh, was that
COVID? There's new COVID.
Omicron?
Omicron.
I don't know.
What else you got for us here? Omicron.
Penn State baseball is returning to the Pittsburgh Pirates PNC Park for a matchup against Pitt on Tuesday, May 17th. Team announced that on Wednesday morning, so tickets will be on sale for $10 through the Pirates website. Discounted ticket rate for students and alumni. It's fun.
It's pretty cool.
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 Very
Let's
cool.
go Bucks. Let's go State. Yins.
Orange City.
Last one. Orange City. You like that?
I love it.
Yeah.
Orange City blogger.
He's talking about. I sent him a video that said it was an Iron City, and I sent him a video. I was in Pittsburgh, saying Iron City, not that he was drinking Iron
No,
City.
I'm 18. I
underage.
don't drink. But
Yeah, he was responding to a billboard that I sent him a picture of in Pittsburgh.
because Sam was going to see the Stillers.
Yeah, it's like the Hollywood sign, except in Pittsburgh, it's just a big. You know what I'm talking about? Instead of it's on Mount Washington, and it just says Iron City beer. It's our Hollywood sign.
Yeah, that's
Anyways,
awesome.
what else you got? Last one.
So, Oakland Raiders D lineman and former Nittany Lions star Carl Nassib landed on the Forbes annual 30 under 30 list Wednesday morning. As one of the 30 honorees in the sports division of the recognition, 28-year-old Nassib is one of 2 NFL athletes, joined by Dak Prescott and the only Penn Stater. So Nassib was selected due to his recent advocacy efforts for the LGBTQ plus community. This June, Nassib became the first active openly gay player in the NFL by posting a coming out video to his Instagram account. Good for Carl.
Shout out Carl Nassib. Will knows something about Carl Nassib for the Brungo family. Do you know what he is for us?
A patient?
No.
Your mom's favorite player?
He's my mom's favorite player. Carl
May I ask
Nassib is
why?
my mom's favorite player.
May I ask why? Just
I don't
'cause?
know. Yeah, just she. At some point, she just picked Carl Nassib. He was cool. He was a walk-on.
Yeah, he was. I've
he,
met his mom before.
Cool, man.
He's cousins with someone from our town.
But he is awesome. His brother actually played for the Giants.
Ryan Nassib
Yeah, Ryan
went to
Nassib.
Syracuse.
Yeah,
Went to
he's-
Cuse. Yeah,
he's stunk.
good QB. He was
I think-
bad actually.
I think he stunk. Anyways,
Carl Nassib's.
he stunk. Carl, we love Carl. Do you have anything to say? I kind
No,
of
I haven't
just,
said anything
Oh,
in
yeah.
a while. I don't really
Sorry,
have much to say.
What do you think about Carl Nassib being on the?
It's fun.
Yeah. All right. Now we got Shannon Smith. Shannon, how was Disney?
It was all right.
The people actually were in the comments on YouTube, and they were like, "Make sure in the next episode you ask Shannon how Disney was."
Who said that?
Like multiple people. We had
What?
like 4 of them.
Really?
Yeah,
True.
4 fans.
It
No,
was,
I'm just kidding.
Oh. Wait,
We don't
Quick
I get
shout out to
comments.
though memes and hoop streams.
Oh yeah.
Memes and Hoop Streams
They
is the GOAT.
are. I love their account.
I thought that it was somebody who just like was a Katie Feeney fan, but then they said something recently, like knew who the Willard Preacher was.
No, they know who the Willard Preacher is.
So it's
they're
a
our
They're a
be-
Penn
person.
State student, I
They're
think.
actually. Sorry, Ryan. I think they actually might be one of our biggest.
Yeah,
fans.
Ryan doesn't.
Memes
ever
and Hoop
comment.
Streams, identify yourself. We want to meet you.
True. They. I wonder
Come
if-
on
I
the
wonder if
pod.
wait, if you actually listen, Memes and Hoop Dreams, whatever your name is, you should say something. No, we have to say toast on our next Instagram post.
Did Colleen ever?
Yeah,
Is it because she wouldn't have though?
it's because we started like
I commented.
we started
toast.
like saying something to her, and then she was like, "What?" I think she texted me, and she was like, "What's Sam talking about?" And I was like, "You have to figure it out." And then she did, and now she listens.
How did she figure it out? Yeah, she
Because
commented on one of our
I think she
posts.
just then figured it had something to do with.
I think I'm getting
Yeah.
a free iPhone. Or I'm going to something. Because basically when I was driving home, I smelled burning
yeah.
rubber. And I didn't know what it was. And I was driving through New York City, so it's like kind of normal. And I looked down, and my phone was plugged into my car, and my charger was smoking out of my phone while it was plugged in. So I picked up my phone and shoved the cord out the window. But like on the cord, you could see where it was burning. So I called Apple, and they took it very seriously. They were asking if any of my property was damaged, if I was hurt, if anything. So
should've
I'm
said
getting a free
yes.
charger, and then I told them that I cracked my phone due to it being on fire because I like dropped it, and so they're gonna fix my cracked
Wait,
phone
did-
for free, I think too.
Cool.
I want something for free.
All right.
That was the best part of my break.
Some headlines.
Yeah. Penn State's December 4th.
Sorry about your phone. T's and P's.
T's and P's to my phone.
T's and P's to your phone.
Yeah.
Sorry about your phone. Sorry to cut you off there. I just had to make sure that your phone knew that I was T'ing and P'ing about them.
Thanks.
Okay. Anyways.
Okay. Penn State's December 4th hiring fair comes amid staff shortages. So Penn State's Auxiliary and Business Services will host a hiring event from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, December 4th, inside the Bryce Jordan Center's Founders Room.
Positions available through the event include food and service workers, public space attendants, housekeepers, BJC event staff, customer service representatives, financial assistants, and after-hours security coordinators, and opportunities are open to both students and people unaffiliated with the school. Go get a job so that the
We can
Mexican
open up
place
In a Pickle.
Yeah, so that In a Pickle can do. Well, it's open, but there's just no paninis, right?
I don't think that's
Yeah,
talk
go
about
get a
that all
job
the
so that
time.
the Mexican place inside South can open. Because I miss the burritos.
What about the omelets? Still? Okay. Anyways, yeah, grab a job. Hey, get a job, get a vaccine, get a booster, donate some blood, save a life.
Flu shots.
Get a flu shot, donate some blood, save a life.
Thon unveils 2022 Spark Endless Light logo. Thon revealed its 2022 Spark Endless Light logo Wednesday afternoon to take one step closer to its annual 46-hour dance marathon. This year's logo features 2 children watching an exploding firework. According to the organization, the design hopes to provide a spark and align with Thon's endless fight against pediatric cancer. The logo was designed by graphic design student Caitlin McHenry, and it'll be featured on all of Thon 2022's branding, merchandise, and more. I liked it. I thought it was cute.
Nice, it is cute. They always kind of look the same, I think.
Yeah.
Shout out.
They're very, simple,
Yeah.
but it's kind of good.
Cool. FTK, shout out Caitlin McHenry, shout out. I'll have to check that out. Anyone pull it up for me real quick?
It's right here. Click on the
Let's see.
blue. It's cute.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they're similar. Thanks, Shannon. We're going to get into also thanks to Charlie Stutz. We're going to get into a conversation here. Before we get in the conversation, we're going to welcome back our boy William Hutchinson Pegler III to the mic real quick. And now we're going to get into a little conversation with Derek Moye after the break. Joining us now, we have former Penn State wide receiver Derek Moye. Derek, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. So we're looking forward to chatting a little bit. We're going to start out a little bit just talking about your time in high school. So when you were in high school, you were from outside Pittsburgh, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And you played multiple sports in high school. You were a multi-sport athlete. How did you decide that football was the sport for you? And did you get recruited for other sports in college, or?
Yeah, I think it was one of those things, just being from the area that I'm from, and along with the recruitment, football more so picked me rather than me picking football. I was recruited very lightly in basketball, in track, and I probably could have played baseball at a smaller level, like a Division II level. But as far as big schools, Power 5 schools, Division I schools, the main looks that I was getting were definitely in football.
So kind of growing up outside of Pittsburgh, like Sam said, and being a star football player, was it always the obvious choice to kind of come to Penn State, or what other schools were kind of recruiting you hard, and where else did you consider?
You know what? It wasn't necessarily obvious for me. I wasn't a huge Penn State fan, or really even a college football fan for that matter, because when I grew up, we played our games on Saturdays. So I spent the whole day. I spent all day Saturdays at my games, at my brother's games, and just kind of watching all the games from 11 in the morning until 10 at night. So I wasn't a fan really of any team for that matter. But I will say, when I got an offer from Penn State, it felt a lot different than some of the other offers that I had. It was I look back and it was one of those things to where it was Penn State gave me an offer. I was a little bit hyped about it.
What were some of your other offers? What was the second choice?
Pitt was my second choice.
And why'd you choose Penn State over Pitt? Pitt being the hometown team.
It was just one of those things for me where the campus of Penn State, it was more of a college experience. I wanted that, what I feel is a true college experience of the campus life, whereas Pitt, is in the city of Pittsburgh, in Oakland. You got to kind of move around a little bit, like you're living in the city, and that just wasn't for me at that time. So the campus, when I went to Penn State, man, I had a great time. Just I had a great host. AQ Shipley was my host, and he showed me a really good time up there. And it was I won't say it was an easy decision, but it was one of those things that I felt at home being there.
Shipley's a friend of the show. We just had him on a couple weeks ago. He's a funny guy.
Oh, yeah, he's a good dude, man,
Yep.
for sure. We had a good time. He showed me to a good time.
I'm
There
sure
you
he
go.
did.
What was it like to play for Joe Paterno?
It was a good experience, but I think it was different. It was very different. In just in the sense of we weren't allowed to, like a lot of the rules that we had. No earrings, no hats, no facial hair. If you're 15 minutes early, if you're anywhere after 15 minutes being early, you're going to be considered late. There's stories of guys who on bowl games will show up for the bus at 4:40, at 4:47 when we were supposed to be there at 5, and the bus had already left. So it was one of those experiences where it was definitely different from a lot of the college programs now. But I think even at that time, it was a lot different from a lot of the college programs then.
What was it like during your recruiting process, getting to interact with a coach that was like as legendary as him around the college football world?
Man, it was super cool. I think he wasn't necessarily like overly involved in the recruiting process. I was able to see him obviously when I went there, and he visited that year. He visited Devin Steele, and then I think maybe it was a week later, a few days later, he came to my school and visited me, and we kind of shut the whole school down. The teachers, like students and teachers, came in and got autographs. Like he probably spent more time just like being a celebrity, I guess is what you would say, rather than actually recruiting me, which is pretty cool though. Just having somebody like him of his stature come to a small town like mine in Rochester. It was definitely something, a memorable moment for me.
So on a lot of those Penn State teams you played for, there were so many offensive weapons, including yourself, guys like Stephon Green, Evan Royster, even Silas Red there kind of at the end. How much fun was that, just being on an offense that had, that many weapons that you got to play alongside?
It was fun for sure. I think we had a lot of good players, just overall in general. The offensive weapons, I think that, once again, man, it's a different game now from what it was then. So we had weapons, but like our offense, we kind of struggled at times, So it was one of those things. It was like, we knew we had talent. We knew we had playmakers and all that. We just kind of maybe at times struggled to put it together. But seeing some of the abilities that some of the players at Penn State, both offensively and defensively, were had was an eye-opening experience for myself. Just like I said, coming from a small town to like, man, I'm at Penn State now, and like everyone can play, and some of these guys are like really, really good.
Yeah, for sure. And one more about a guy you played with. I feel like sometimes Daryl Clark, for some reason, like doesn't always get his due for some reason as how good he was at Penn State. I grew up a Penn State fan. I remember him always being kind of a baller. What was your connection like with him, as your quarterback, and what's your connection still like with him?
Yeah, man, Daryl, that's my guy. I think I look at him and I see him as being one of the best quarterbacks in my eyes in Penn State history. And I think just what he was able to do for the program, and I think he started I don't know if it's 2 or 3 years, but just in his I think it was 2 years actually. And I know his first year he led us to the Rose Bowl, and then the year after that we went to the Capital One Bowl. So I think he's someone that, in my eyes, like I said, he's one of the better players, and for sure one of the better quarterbacks to play at Penn State. And I definitely, I think he gets maybe, I'm not really sure why, if I'm being honest with you, but I definitely think that he was a really good player, and I was fortunate to have him as my quarterback for a year.
So talking a little bit about Penn State, you guys had some good years while you were there. Penn State now this season just finished up 7-5. We just right here before the bowl game. How do you come back from a season like that? And if you're a player on that team that just played kind of a mediocre season, how do you motivate yourself for the bowl game and for the next season to move forward?
I mean, I think it's just really that the competitiveness and competitive spirit. If you're a competitor, which if you're at Penn State and you're not a competitor, I mean, you probably should reevaluate what you're doing. But just being that competitive nature of just saying, like, anytime you get to, lace up your cleats, put on your shoulder pads, it's time to go out there and compete. And that's kind of what it is. It don't really matter, what your record is. It don't matter what bowl game you're playing in. And it's just having the opportunity to put the jersey on, having the opportunity to, play in front of all the Penn State fans, and just really, and I guess, and also playing just in front of the nation for that. Those things that when it's time, you don't really think about the record. And as far as like next year goes, I know like for us, I believe it was 2010. We had, I think it was a 6-5 year, and then the following year we felt like we had a really good team. We had a lot of guys coming back, and a lot of guys were going to be seniors and older, and we're going to be seniors, and it was like, we don't want to go out the way that we did the previous year, being 6-5. And obviously we had some other things going on that year, but I think that we started off the year, I believe it was like 9-10-1 or something like that. We had a pretty good year to begin with, and then some other things kind of came into play. But I mean, I think it's just really just realizing what you're capable of, realizing what your team is capable of, and going out there and competing.
Do you have a favorite Penn State moment?
I think favorite Penn State moment, man. Yeah, for sure. I guess so. I'd say that's a tough question, but I would say that the Illinois game my senior year. So that was Joe Pa's 409th win. That was a special moment for me in particular, just because like that game I had broke my foot a few weeks previous to that, and wasn't really expected to play, and kind of helped the team came in late in the game and kind of helped the team get the offense going a little bit, which we ended up scoring a late touchdown to go up. I think it was 10-7, and then Illinois ended up missing a field goal. And it was like one of those games. It was weird because, like, Beaver Stadium's usually rocking 7,000, whatever it is. But I think at that time, like at the end of the game, there was probably maybe like 25,000 people there because the weather was so bad. But like it was like one of those things to where all of the fans who stayed were like, either your parents, your family, or just like really diehard Penn State fans. So it was like a cool experience to where it was like, I think all the student section kind of came together at the field goal at the end. And it was like, it was just pretty cool to see. It was pretty cool to be a part of.
I remember that game, football weather. It was snowy one.
That's stay in the house weather.
Talk about a whiteout, right?
Yeah, so kind of on that note, sort of big moments, kind of a random one, but you brought it up earlier. That Capital One Bowl in 2010, I remember you guys won the game. Obviously, you had a touchdown to open the game. What was it like playing in that game? Because I'm pretty sure like the turf was like, or the grass was like historically bad, or like the conditions were crazy. I remember watching it on TV and it was nuts. So I wanted to ask you about that, what that was like.
Oh man, it was terrible. Like, I mean, I played single A football in Pennsylvania, and that's the worst field I've ever played on in my life. So I think that about sums it up,
There you go. Yeah.
But I mean, it was also one of those things that was cool because at that year, I think we were 11-2. We finished 11-2. We were kind of like this close from going to like a BCS bowl game, and then we were going against LSU, who also was kind of in the same situation as us, but they're in the SEC. Had a lot of good players and a lot of future NFL players, and we were able to go out there, obviously, and not only compete with them, but ended up pulling out the win too.
You mentioned during your senior season kind of the circumstances, and obviously we just came up on the 10-year anniversary of that. What was it like to be on the team during such a wild time during the scandal and when Joe was fired, and especially as a leader, as you were a captain, what was that like for you, and what role did you feel like you had to step into?
Man, I mean, it was just like, I don't really even know how to explain it. It was just kind of one of those things that just kind of like blindsided us, and we didn't really know what was going on. It was like one of those things where, like I said, we were had played Illinois. Joe Pa got his 409th win, which was obviously historic. And then the next week we were having our senior week against Nebraska, and we were in contention for, at that point, which was the first ever Big Ten championship to be played. We were in contention to be playing that, and I think we needed to win 2 of the last 3 in order to have an opportunity to play in the Big Ten championship. And then the news broke, I believe, on that Sunday, maybe it was, and it was just like, it was a crazy experience. It was something that, like, as a player on the team, it was kind of like, I don't want to say why is this happening to us, but when you think about, like, from a pure football standpoint, like, it was like we ain't have nothing to do with this. It doesn't really affect. I shouldn't say it doesn't affect us, but it didn't have anything to do with us or what we did. We were there to play football and obviously go to school as well. So we hadn't really signed up for the everything that came with it. Like leaving in the apartments and having CNN and ABC and all the news stations kind of follow us and asking questions and like asking if we knew Jerry Sandusky and like all that stuff that just, like I said, it had nothing really to do with us at that time. It was definitely, man, I would say it's like an eye-opening experience.
As a 21, 22-year-old kid, having reporters like that outside, do you feel like that was something that like really affected you and changed your, I don't know, like change your life almost? Like that seems almost like a traumatic thing to go through.
Yeah, I think it just kind of shows you like that's like, for me, that was the first and really the only like mainstream media story that I've been a part of. And you kind of see like, I guess, the power of the media, the power of the power of the media, and just kind of what goes along when something is breaking and it's news across America. You kind of see just how quickly things happen, how much I guess people don't really care about like the people who are innocent involved with it. Just kind of they want to get the story out however possible. And man, just being a like I said, being a student athlete, being a football player, it wasn't something we signed up for, and it was like us.
So this is our last question we have about this. So I remember there was a movie that came out with Al Pacino playing Joe Pa. It was called Paterno. And there was, at the beginning scene, it like opened up in the Illinois game that you were talking about, and one of the characters was like very clearly you. I don't know if you ever seen that, but like, do you ever like, I was going to ask if you watched that and like the most recent one that came out, Saving the Roar, and just like how much you pay attention to stuff that comes out about that and what that experience was like seeing yourself portrayed in a movie. Even though they didn't say your name, it was like very clearly you. I remember watching it and being like, it's definitely supposed to be Moye, right? My dad was like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think like Al Pacino in the movie said like, what's Moye's status or something like that. And then like I went in the game or whatever. So I mean, it was cool for sure. It was something like, it was cool, I guess, to be a minor part of like Hollywood or whatever. But yeah, I mean, they ain't paid me for it, so.
Was it weird for you to watch that and see like your story, something that you lived, like even if it's just that little scene of it?
For sure. I mean, I think it was pretty crazy too, just because like I think that obviously there's some things in there that like aren't necessarily 100% accurate, but they got a lot of things like that you might not think they would get right. Like they got it right, which was kind of crazy to see. It's like, how the heck did they know that? And like, who were they talking to? And who was like giving them these stories and things like that, which was like, it was kind of cool to see, you know? But I didn't see the new movie that got out.
You should watch it. I really liked it.
Yeah, me too.
Is it pretty good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. They had some. Jordan Hill was one of our first guests that we had on, and he was a big part of it. I know he was kind of in it behind the scenes and stuff, but it was cool to to see their side of it.
Okay, you have to check it out. I've heard it's pretty good, but it just came out recently, right?
Yeah, like a few months ago, I think. Yeah, and it was on like it was like streaming, but then you had to like watch it at a certain time, kind of. So it was a little strange to watch.
It was a weird
way they put it out.
Yeah,
I think you still can watch it.
The delivery of it was kind of weird, like the streaming service and stuff. But I feel like at some point it'll just come out on, and you can stream it whenever.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you would think so.
Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, kind of moving on from your time at Penn State into sort of like the NFL draft process and what that was like. Even though you had that great Penn State career, you ended up going undrafted. Just kind of what was that process like, kind of preparing for the NFL draft and working your way into the NFL and onto an NFL roster?
The process is like it's different from maybe what I expected. It was also like it was nice and it was a good experience to go out there and kind of meet some other players that you had played against. You had heard about, and kind of develop relationships with them. Like I was fortunate enough to, I trained at IMG Academy, and some of the quarterbacks there that year were Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill. And I think like Cam Newton was the year before. And then like IMG is IMG. So like there's like Andrew McCutcheon was down there training. LaShawn Merritt, who he's like the Olympic gold medalist sprinter, was down there training. So it was like kind of just cool to be in the same atmosphere, be in the same vicinity as them, and kind of like see like how they go about their business, how they work, and just what they're doing to try and better themselves. So that was like a good experience. That was pretty cool to see. But like the combine is like, when's this thing over? You know, like you fly out pretty early in the morning at like 6, and then you get there and you're doing like a medical test for like a long time. And then like the last day I think of either 2 or 3 days is like the training portion. Like you're like worn out, kind of tired, and then you go out there and kind of expected to perform. It was like, when's this thing going to be over? But I'm definitely fortunate and grateful to have been a part of that. And I would have liked to have been drafted, but obviously it didn't work out that way. Excuse me. So it was, I guess, to answer your question, it was a lot different from what I expected. It was a lot different, just like everything from the combine to the actual draft process itself. During the draft, I ended up being undrafted. And like right around like the fifth round, you start getting calls from teams. They're like, all right, we're going to take you this round. We're going to take you, like I had a few teams like in the 6th round, 7th round, like we're taking you with the next pick. We're taking you with the next pick. We're going to take a receiver. You're watching the TV and it's like, with the next pick, XYZ picks so-and-so. And it's like, dang, he told me he's going to pick me.
I know that happened. That's brutal, man.
And you're sitting there like, man, what the heck? You know what I mean? So it's like a mind game, I guess, a little bit. And then at the end of the draft process, it's like my phone was just like, literally, it was just like blowing up to where I had, numbers, different area codes, like, hey, like, we want you to sign with us. We want you to sign. And I wasn't really prepared for it. Like, I kind of thought like that after the draft happened, like you had a little bit of time to kind of figure out where the free agents are going to go. And it was like instant, you know what I mean? The draft finished and it was like, hey, are you going to sign with us or not?
So, you were pretty dope at Penn State, like all-time 9th in receptions, 7th in receiving yards, 5th in touchdowns. Did you expect that you were going to get drafted? Because I remember, growing up in State College, being a Penn State fan, I was always biased when Penn State players would go undrafted. I would be like, what the hell? Like, they were the best. Like, I don't understand, but maybe it's just because that's all I watched. But did you expect to get drafted?
You know what? I wasn't really sure. Because I didn't have like a good senior year. I didn't have a great senior year. I think my production and just like my play overall fell off a little bit my senior year. So I wasn't really certain of like how how scouts were gonna take that and how teams were gonna take that. So like it was like while I was going into the process, I kind of felt like I could be picked, 4th, potentially 7th. Like I didn't really, and I also felt like I could be undrafted. So it wasn't necessarily a surprise for me to be undrafted. But obviously, once again, I would have liked to be.
Can you talk about your time in the NFL and what that experience was like?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a good experience for sure. It was a lifelong dream of mine. I'll say this: I was introduced to like the business aspect of it pretty early. So I was signed with the Miami Dolphins as a free agent, and I think we were in OTAs or minicamp. And at that point in time, Chad Ochocinco was like trying to make a comeback, and he was dealing with some different things. And the Dolphins signed him, and in order to sign him, they cut me. So,
Damn.
and it was like I said, we hadn't even done like put on pads and in training camp or anything like that. So I didn't really feel like I got a chance to kind of show what I was able to do. And like, as a rookie, you're kind of like maybe a little bit naive. You think like, all right, I'm in Miami, so like I'm in Miami. You know what I mean? Or if you're in Pittsburgh, you think you are where you are, but like you don't really like, you don't think of like the business aspect of it. You think like I'm here, I'm going to be here. And like I said, it was just like kind of just being blindsided, like, all right, well, we're bringing in this guy. And we didn't say we're bringing in this guy. It's just like, you know what, like, we're going to let you go. So that was like eye-opening, but I was fortunate to have been picked up by the Saints immediately after that. And then I was only there for, I think, training camp, but then I was picked up by the Steelers, where I spent the majority of my time at. And it was a good experience being there, especially, like I said, being from Pittsburgh, having an opportunity to play for my hometown team, which, you know, was always a dream of mine as well. It was an awesome experience to be able to do that. And also, like, I played with guys who, like, I grew up, like, looking up to, you know, like Big Ben, Troy Polamalu, like Larry Foote, Brett Kiesel, James Harrison. Like, I had grown up watching all those guys playing on Sundays and, like, kind of wanting to be like them, I guess. And then being able to share the locker room with them and be teammates with them was like, dang, like let me pinch myself real quick.
I remember I was telling these guys, we got 2 Steeler fans along with me here in the room, and I was telling them, I remember the primetime game against the Bengals or whatever when you caught your, I think, only NFL touchdown, right?
Yep.
And I remember being like so hyped because I always pulled for the Penn State players, and I remember I was telling them, I was like, yeah, I remember staying up and I like couldn't sleep afterwards. I was so amped. But we had, like I said, we had Shipley, and he was talking about how getting cut by the Steelers was kind of like a blessing because then he didn't have to be, you know, as much of a dream as it was for him to play for his hometown team. Him and McAfee also said this, but they just like to get away from like the distractions of being around the people you grew up with and like going out and partying. Did you feel like that was an issue at all for you or like a distraction being in your hometown?
No, it wasn't for me. I mean, but I can easily like see that, and I've, you know, seen it firsthand from people. But like for myself, I did a pretty good job of like kind of insulating myself and realizing, you know, what my job was. Because like, you know, similar to AQ, where we weren't guys that like were drafted, and we weren't guys who were, you know, at the top of the roster. So it's like you're always kind of like, I don't want to say looking over your shoulder, but you always know that at any point in time you can be gone. So like I couldn't really afford to be going out partying and be caught up in like some things that I really shouldn't be caught up in, because at the end of the day, they didn't have any money invested in me, so there's nothing in them to just say, all right, you know, see you later. Actually, so I always tell a story, like Coach Tomlin. Coach Tomlin's one of like, he's a very, who would you say? He's very blunt. He's known as being a player's coach.
No bullshit kind of guy.
Yeah, very good. No bullshit. Like, so this was my second year, but since I hadn't played the first year, I was able to do rookie mini camp with the Steelers, and we're getting ready to go home for the summertime, have like a month off in between training camp or whatever it is, and he pulls us all together. These are all the guys that are rookie mini camp. I need you guys to come up to the team meeting room, and I just got to talk to you a little. We'll have a meeting before I send you guys off. And he was like, at that point in time, who was first round pick was Jarvis Jones, second round pick was Le'Veon Bell, third round pick was Marcus Wheaton, and the fourth round pick was Shamarko Thomas. And he said all those guys' names. He's like, he said, if your name is not one of those guys' names, and I hear about you in any type of trouble, he's like, don't even bother showing up. He's like, your ass is cut.
Wow.
And then he said, if your guys is one of those guys' name, he said, "You're going to wish your ass was cut."
That's a great story. That's awesome.
It's one of my favorite stories about him, just because he kept it real.
Yep, yeah, for sure. That's scary to hear, but also like I'm not a Steelers fan, but that's a.
I didn't need to I didn't need to hear much else.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. And so, most recently, you kind of dabbled in high school coaching a little bit. We are just kind of wondering what that experience was like and what you're up to now.
So I'm doing training. I've been doing training. I've had my training business for the past 5 years or so. So I work mainly with high school youth athletes. But I was doing high school coaching. I only did it for 2 years. I did it 1 year. I was an assistant, and another year I did it as a head coach. And man, I really did enjoy doing it. I really may go back at some point, but definitely not being a head coach, man. It's a lot. I got from that 1 year, I gained a lot more respect for all of the high school head coaches, my high school head coach, and then obviously all the guys who are doing it now, just because it's such a big time commitment. And you're dealing with so many different variables, and you're dealing with so many different things that, you never really, it's just one of those things that those guys don't get enough credit, because, they're not really, essentially, you get a little bit of a stipend, but you're essentially volunteer. To deal with a lot of things that you have to deal with, and it's not for everybody.
But so what would you think you could see yourself going back as a position coach, like wide receiver coach or that kind of thing?
Potentially. Yeah,
cool.
Definitely, man. When I was coaching, so I coached at Aliquippa, and one of the guys actually, one of the guys I coached, he's actually up there at Penn State now, is Uriah Fisher.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yep. So, I loved coaching there, and I loved being an assistant coach as a receiver. It's just because you show up, you got your drills you need to do, you kind of correct their techniques and develop a relationship with them, and you go home.
Right.
Obviously you talk to them if they got an issue, if they want to talk. That's like, I made myself available for that. But like issues that come up within the team or come up within school, it's not like, they're not calling on me.
We are doing this season on the show, the guest gets to pick the song that brings us in to the episode and out of the episode. So what's your song for us? And if you don't have one off the top of your head, you can text me later. But
I got one, man.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give a little, like, I just got back from Florida yesterday, and it was me, my brother, his fiance, my niece, my nephew, and my daughter, and we listened. I had to drive excuse me, all the way back from the airport. We had to listen to it. So Up by Cardi B.
Got it. Love it. Is your brother is like a, it's
Perfect,
awesome.
man.
We love it. Your brother's like a fighter.
If you want to call him that. No, I'm messing with you.
I saw some posts on Instagram.
Yeah, he did jiu-jitsu for a while. He's been doing jiu-jitsu for I think about maybe 7 years now or so. And he's started training at the Mat Factory. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. It's like a bigger gym in Pittsburgh. A lot of I think Bo Nickel trains there a lot. Jason Nolf maybe. A lot of guys who are just like into wrestling. It's a wrestling thing. So he kind of was training there and got talked into doing a fight, and he did his first MMA fight. He said he's gonna be one and done, but we'll see how that goes.
Do you have any words of wisdom for college students?
Words of wisdom for college students, huh? I always tell the athletes that I work with that I feel like the most important thing in college, maybe even more than the studies, is the networking. Because especially at a school like Penn State, you're always going to be able to, you're going to be able to meet people there that are sometime down the line they're going to be, running businesses, starting businesses, and holding positions of power potentially. So I think a lot of the relationships that you're able to develop in college will go a lot further after college than you even realize. So I think networking is the biggest thing in my eyes.
Awesome. Derek, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you coming on and chatting with us for a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek Moye.
Appreciate you guys.
That was our conversation with Derek Moye. Thanks for sticking with us after the break. We got a little football talk with Connor Krause and Will Pegler. Guys, how are you?
Good. Doing good.
Oh. You go, Connor.
You guys are so good that you're so eager to say how good you are.
Doing good, Sam.
Yeah,
Thanks.
man. I'm actually very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
You guys have a good break?
Yeah, I mean, besides watching that game, it was a pretty good break.
Which one?
Both.
A lot of football stuff over break.
Yeah, a lot of football stuff. Let's get into it. We're going to keep this one slightly short.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
there's also a lot to talk about. So
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of. I mean, we can.
we only have one game.
We can
All
talk
right.
about the Michigan State game.
Let's talk about Michigan State game,
You
Winter
guys-
Wonderland. Personally, I'll let you guys get into your little spiel, but there was, I feel like, a lot of positives to take out of it. On at least the offensive side, people will just murder Sean Clifford until the end of time, but I felt like Sean Clifford played actually very good.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have in the second half. The time of possession was way out of Michigan State had a ton of long possessions, so Penn State didn't really have an opportunity in offense as much. But they got off to a slow start. But I mean, Jahan had those 2 touchdowns right away. That catch Parker Washington made,
Incredible.
Dope.
How do you do that in the snow? That was so sick.
How do you do anything in the snow?
I couldn't even. I was tweeting about this. How could they see anybody? And they're all white jerseys.
Well, I think that it was a lot harder from the press box and from the TV to see
Probably.
because of the angle, but
Still though,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
the icy whites. Dude,
yeah, no, they look pretty sick in the
those
snow,
look good.
no doubt. But yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I mean, Sean gets hated on a lot. I don't think he played horribly. I mean, he threw 313 yards and 3 touchdowns, so he didn't play that bad. It was the time of possession in the second half. Penn State just didn't get the ball back and didn't have time to actually run their offense. And
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State has the worst pass defense in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Sean threw for, I think it was 228 in the first half. He threw for less than 100 yards in the second half.
Yeah, that's a story.
Just because they kept going 3 and out.
Yeah.
I don't know why Franklin didn't stick to the game plan of throwing the ball. Clearly, I mean, he said it in his post game that they've wanted to run the ball all season and they haven't really been able to. I don't know. I just think when you're playing a team that has that bad of a secondary, you got to throw the ball.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, if you're not going to do that much on offense, a guy like Kenneth Walker is going to do something. I mean, they held him to, he had 138 yards, so he played pretty well, and he had that touchdown. But you can't expect the defense to just keep, making stops and keeping you alive, and you're going to be, I know they punted on 4th and short on a few occasions from, midfield or around midfield. They went for it once on that 4th and 1 and then got completely stuffed, so that goes to show, how confident they are in their run game. You know what I mean? Even though they keep doing it, there's just not... They couldn't get anything going.
It was an abnormally bad day for the defense.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
uncharacteristic. Giving up 14 early.
Yeah.
Didn't look like the defense of this season. I know, in past seasons, for example, last year against Ohio State, they marched down the field, score first drive of the game.
Yep.
That's kind of what this felt like. They were
Yeah.
playing behind all day. I was happy with how they fought back, but it's sad because Michigan State is ranked 11 right now in the country, and I think Penn State is a better team than them.
I think that's the story of the season, bro. They play everybody close, and then even teams they're quote unquote better than, or they look like they're better than, they just don't play their best football. I mean, there was a couple you can highlight a couple plays on defense. I mean, that Brandon Smith kind of missed tackle on 3rd and long on that screen.
That was huge.
That was brutal.
And then same
Obviously,
drive, Johnny Dixon gives up the 4th and
Yeah.
15.
which is why I don't know why he was covering. It was Reed, right? Who had
It
the
was
touchdown.
Reed, yeah, and
he was their stud wide receiver.
Yeah,
all
he's
year.
second team All Big Ten
So
receiver.
I don't really know why he's covering him, but yeah, I mean, a lot of frustrating moments, no doubt. I think, like you said, it was just uncharacteristic. I think I saw a stat, or we tweeted it. I think they had given up something 15 total points in the first quarter in all games this year or something.
Yeah,
Something
I mean,
crazy.
They
gave up 14.
never gave up a touchdown in the first quarter.
Yeah, and
throughout
they gave
the whole
up 2
entire
right off the
season.
bat, so it was uncharacteristic. It was weird. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Just it was similar to the whole season. It was a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. If X doesn't happen, then
Yeah,
they
late
might be able to
turnovers
win,
really
but-
hurt. The Lovett fumble on the
Oh,
kick
I forgot
return.
about that. Yeah,
That was in crunch time. I mean, Penn State's down, I think 10 at the time. But
Mhm.
I think there were 5 minutes left.
Mhm.
If he keeps that ball, Penn State potentially goes down
Yeah.
and makes it a one-score game.
Yeah, and that forced Michigan State then forced Penn State to use all of its timeouts after that because Penn State got the stop after that, but I think Franklin used all 3 to get the ball back, and then there was 4 minutes left or maybe 3 minutes left. They were down 10, and they needed an onside kick, and that never came to fruition. So tough game, tough way to end the regular season, but kind of a tough season overall. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the story of it. It's just
Mhm.
like I'm looking at the top 25 rankings right now, and I feel like there's only 2 teams that are like definitively better than Penn State in it, and it's Alabama and Georgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's teams that
Yeah.
like those are the only teams. Like Penn State, I don't think that Ohio State is like light years ahead of Penn State. I think they're a very similar team. Like we saw that in the game. It's
Yeah.
just like A&M, Louisiana, Kentucky, Cincinnati.
Yeah, bro. Cincinnati's pretty tough. I like.
They're disciplined.
Yeah,
Desmond Ridder is would be the best quarterback in the Big Ten.
we don't need to compare against every top 25 team.
Yeah.
I wrote a story about it after the game. I think like Penn State's gotten super unlucky this year, and like there's a lot of reasons they've lost all 5 of these games. Like that are a lot of them even out of their control. Like Sean's injury, who knows what happens if Sean doesn't get hurt? But at some point, if you don't make the plays you need to, like you can't just be, oh, it's unlucky. Like we should have beaten that team. Like, you know, good teams make the plays they need to make to win, as obvious as that sounds, and Penn State just didn't make a lot of those plays this year. So I think at some point you have to say they aren't actually, you know, that good of a team. I don't think they're a bad team. I don't really know what to make of this team, to be honest with you.
I
It's
think
kinda
they're
hard.
just it's
But-
just like what you said, coulda, shoulda, woulda. I think it's
Yeah,
just a
exactly
disappointment.
what it is. Yeah.
But you look at it you can look at it from 2 different angles. You can
Mhm.
look at it like this defense was so talented they should have at least had 10 wins, or you can look at it that 4 of their 5 losses were to teams inside the top 13 right now.
Right.
Not even the
it's-
top 25.
I think it's crazy to think they're a play away from, you know, beating Michigan, and Michigan just bullied Ohio
Yeah,
State.
exactly.
It's crazy. Like it's
And Penn State was a player, like you say, like Penn State's a player or 2 away from beating Ohio State. Penn State's 9 plays away from beating
Illinois.
a play or 2 or 9
Yeah,
away
yeah.
from beating Illinois.
Right.
Same thing with Iowa. They're
Yeah.
a rib, but like our boy Mike Tomlin says, we don't deal with hypotheticals.
Right,
so
right.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
This year's Penn State team is a better version of Nebraska. Nebraska went 3-9. All of their losses are by 1 score. Penn State went 7-5. All of their losses are by an average margin of 4.2 points a game.
That's interesting.
Just
That's a good point.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, it's just I mean, it's hard because good teams play close, and Penn State's a very good team, I think. But
Yeah, I agree with that.
Great teams, like you said, get
They
that
get it done.
play.
Mhm,
They do
mhm.
make that play.
Right,
And Penn
right.
State just didn't make that play.
Right.
So moving forward,
Yeah, I think so. A lot of the talk right after the Michigan State game, which I think some of it was kind of unfair because, you know, it was so quick. But a lot of people were like, "Oh, great, 10 more years of this," because obviously, right before the Michigan State game on Tuesday, James Franklin agreed to a massive new contract stretching all the way through 2031. So 10-year deal. He's going to get $7 million a year. He's going to get that $500,000 retention bonus. Yeah, it's a long time. That's a big deal. So, what are your guys' thoughts?
I love it. I think seeing what happened this week with Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly recently, it just shows that in this day and age, players aren't committing to a school; they're committing to a coach.
That's a
So
good point.
if Penn State loses Franklin, they lose the entire incoming class. It's number 6 in the country right now. They probably lose a lot of current players on the team to the transfer portal, and then it's a total rebuild. So from that perspective, I think it's the right move.
Sam, you want to go?
I agree.
Yeah.
Everyone at Thanksgiving, all my Pitt fan relatives, they were like, "Oh, what's up with James Franklin signing through 2031?" And I was just like, they were like, "What do you think about that?" I was like, "I'll take it. I like it. I'm glad." We had a staffer, Sam. I don't know how to say his last name.
Oh, Fremen? I actually don't know how to say it, but yeah, he did write a really good
He
article.
wrote a good article
Yeah.
before the extension, basically outlining all of the reasons why it should happen, what would happen if he left. And one of the things that is so obvious to me is just like, what's Barron Franklin?
Yeah.
Like he said,
I
you
think that's
lose
the
all
main
your
point.
recruits. Franklin might not be Nick Saban, but
who is Nick Saban other than Nick Saban?
yeah, it's hard.
Well
to,
said,
yeah.
honestly. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, I think the only
It's a recruiting thing.
yeah, I think yeah, and the one thing that made me like not be like ecstatic about it right after it happened was his agent's clearly doing a really good job because he has all the leverage right now,
Very good.
which
All
I think is
buyout
interesting.
clauses.
Yeah, so like if Penn State fires him or he's leaving on Penn State's doing, quote unquote, he gets everything. But then so Penn State really is showing the commitment on their end. The one thing is James's buyout by the time 2026 comes around, it's only $1 million. So like theoretically, we could be having this same conversation again in like 5 years or even less. Like how the conversation we've had all year. Like James is, passive aggressively pushing for better facilities, all that stuff, which is probably a good thing because like he's trying to better the program. But I don't know. I just think that's the one interesting thing. 10 years is a long time, and I think the buyout clause thing is a little not fishy, but it's just like he has all the leverage, and I think that was probably a big part of the deal for him. That and the 55 hours on the private jet.
Hey,
but
buddy, Lincoln Riley got on.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, with all the like,
why did James
disloyalty
get
crap?
55 and Lincoln got unlimited?
How many did? Oh yeah, and they're like
and his family.
House.
His family.
They're
Gets,
buying his houses.
Yeah, they're buying two of them in Norman,
2 houses,
Oklahoma.
$500K more than selling price.
No, I mean they had to extend them. And with all the crap that's going around college football right now, like Brian Kelly just up and leaving Notre Dame, I think that, and like you brought up the Oklahoma thing, Connor, makes James look pretty good from like a loyalty standpoint.
Yep.
And he's a Stroudsburg guy. Like this is his dream job. I definitely believe that.
Where's he going? There's no ways. What's better job than Penn State?
I mean, some people would say like USC because of the reasons you outlined. But I think for him personally, I think he thinks Penn State is better. I do think that. So.
But like USC's like hasn't been good since they beat us in the Rose Bowl.
Well, yeah.
USC's not a very good team. Like
recruiting, they play in a bad
Get
conference.
to live in LA.
I think I mean, not to go on a tangent, but for Lincoln Riley, it was a pretty good move to get out of Oklahoma, going to the SEC, and move to the Pac-12, and then recruit the hell out of California. I think he'll win there for a long time.
Baby.
Yeah,
it's interesting, but
yeah,
we'll see. But
I
think he was getting on. I don't know. People just I said, if you don't think this is a good move, you just don't know ball.
They had to extend. Anybody who didn't want to extend him is like, who was Penn State going to get? Like, seriously,
they weren't going to get Luke Fickell.
I know everybody was saying that. All these like stud young coaches, or like I think people were even talking about what's that dude's name on LSU, like the young guy. Or I think he's with the Panthers now.
Matt Rule.
Brady. Well, yeah, Matt Rule and Brady.
Joe Brady.
But Matt Rule's not going to up and lead the Panthers like right now. That's a lot of people's pipe dream is that because he's like a state college guy or whatever. But like,
well, apparently Rule is being rumored for Notre Dame now.
I know. I saw that, bro. It's been a crazy few days. Maybe he'll be at Notre Dame by the time this comes out. Probably not, but be crazy.
Notre Dame already hired someone.
They did?
They promoted their assistant.
Oh, Freeman?
Probably
Freeman.
But is that interim?
Freeman.
Yeah.
I think for. I don't know if they have.
I think
terms
the
yet,
players want him. Oh wait,
he's the DC, right?
48 minutes ago, I can now confirm through multiple sources that Marcus Freeman will become the next head coach at University of Notre Dame.
He's the DC.
Yeah.
Heard it here first. Podward State.
Woo!
What's his name? Marcus Freeman is going to. He's staying in Notre Dame.
Staying in lovely South Bend.
In the middle of nowhere. You think State College is in the middle of nowhere? Go to South Bend, Indiana.
We've driven through it.
In just a couple days ago, Virginia Tech hired our defensive coordinator, Brent Pry, who has been here
since
James Franklin's whole tenure here. So he is
11 years with Franklin.
Other than
Terry Smith,
and the D-backs coach,
and the fitness and
Dwight
strength guy,
Galt.
Dwight Galt, DJ.
Those other than those two guys, he was the longest tenured with Franklin. He's going over Virginia Tech. Good for him, I think. But what are we looking at as far as replacements? Real quick, Franklin now has people in his farm. He now has Charles Huff is the head coach at Marshall. He has not Matt Rule, Ricky Ronnie
Old
at
Dominion.
Old Dominion. He has Brent Pry, and he has what is looking like Joe Moorhead at Akron.
The Zips.
And possibly Josh Gaddis after this season.
Gaddis has been balling at Michigan, dude. Like everybody says he's such a good OC. So he was Penn State's running backs coach.
Receivers,
thanks. Yeah.
Running backs was Huff.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think.
What do you have as far as replacements for Brent Pry?
I think the Pry news was like a long time coming anyway. I'm honestly surprised he stayed this long.
We've had it pre for a long time.
Yeah, last year's rumored to Boise State.
Oh,
yeah.
Boise State.
But replacements. There's nothing like concrete right now. There's a lot of different articles coming out. So I have one coming out Thursday just about guys that would make sense. A lot of people are kind of talking about Sean Spencer. I think that would be sick. Coach Chaos if he came back from the Giants. He's the Giants D-line coach right now. I personally think it would make sense because
I think it'd make a lot of sense.
Because he's coming back to college with 2 years of NFL knowledge now, and he's kind of putting it to the test to manage a whole defense.
And it would be coming from defense. He went from Penn State defensive line to New York Giants defensive line.
Yeah, exactly.
And which the Giants' new defensive line is not bad, but I think defensive coordinator at a Power 5 program would be better.
I don't think that's like a lateral move. That's a step up for sure. I think at a Big Ten school, run a defense. Yeah, I think that would be. And James loves to hire guys that he knows. So there's a couple other guys on that list, but I think Spence would be cool.
What about Poindexter?
I think he's the in-house guy. If it's an in-house guy, and I think he's kind of expected to be the DC for the bowl game.
Well, he's co-DC.
Yeah, he's co-DC, so he is, and he's the safeties coach. I mean that, and the fact that the safeties are so Jair Brown and obviously Jaquan Brisker are arguably the best position group on the team. So I think I could see him as DC. He has a ton of experience too. He was he had it at one of his jobs. I think at UConn he was a defensive coordinator. As a player, he was awesome. He just got inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame because he was sick at UVA. So I think that would make sense if they wanted to go in-house. They've had so much turnover at coordinator and position coaches. So I think it would make sense to keep it in-house.
Well, every year they have 4 or 5. This year there's a lot of new guys, and since 2020 there's been a lot of new guys.
Stubblefield rotated in.
The offensive
John
line,
Scott,
Yurcich
obviously is the big one. Yeah, Troutwine. So
and
I think that would make sense.
Oh, what's the Ty Howe?
Tight ends.
Yeah. I think the other name to look for, Elijah Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's the defensive line coach at Texas A&M. He was at Penn State from 2004 to 2008 as a player, and then he stayed on staff all the way through O'Brien as a grad assistant and co-defensive line coach. So, we've seen with Howell and Deion Barnes, all those guys coming back to be on Franklin's staff. He likes to hire ex-players.
Yeah.
So that could be pretty cool. I think he'd stay here for a while.
I think he would be the best one, to be honest with you, out of that list.
And we've seen how A&M's recruited.
Yeah,
he could obviously go out on the road and recruit for Penn State.
Full disclosure, I had until I started researching today possible replacements. I had never heard of this guy. He spent a decade at Penn State, as a player, and I think he had a neck injury that ended his career, and he was a GA, and then he went on to he spent time at Temple and Baylor for Matt Rule. But yeah, his thing is recruiting. As Connor was saying, he has a 5-star defensive lineman, the number 2 overall prospect, this guy Walter Nolan. He recruited him to A&M, and then one other guy, DeMarvin Leal, who is a star defensive lineman for Texas A&M, who's going to get drafted. Robinson recruited him. He's only 36 years old. I think that would be a cool hire. And he's a Penn State guy, like Connor said. A decade at Penn State. He's from Camden, New Jersey, Northeast guy. I think it would make sense.
It'll be interesting. That'll probably come out after the bowl, right?
Yeah. I think Poindexter will probably call the defensive plays at whatever bowl they get, which we can talk about next.
And I would say Poindexter is probably the favorite, no?
I think a lot of people think that right now. If they go in-house, I think it should be Poindexter. And then Terry Smith, nobody really has talked about him. I think he's kind of happy. He's the cornerbacks coach and an associate head coach. He's kind of just the veteran in the room, So I don't think he'd be promoted at this point, but who knows?
We'll see what happens. This week, Big Ten awards came out. Any takeaways?
I think
other than
the
Jahan
main thing
Dotson?
was Jahan not being consensus, right?
Yeah.
I think the coaches picked David Bell and Olave over him.
Yeah, they did. And then he was on the second team for the coaches with, I think it was, I don't know who it was.
It's okay. Yeah. I don't, the
not Parker
stuff
Washington either.
Yeah, I think that was another big take. 12 guys from defense and special teams totaled, and then offense. Parker didn't even get a mention, which is ridiculous, honestly. And then, Jahan, I guess, Olave's sick, obviously. I think he probably should have been in over David Bell. I know David Bell's good, but Jahan, was incredible all year.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
Awards in the running backs room and the offensive line room were a little light.
Yeah, Rasheed Walker.
Yeah, Rasheed got something.
Was on the third team. I was surprised that Sean was an honorable mention. Mm-hmm. For him, especially having a bad season a year ago, it was pretty cool.
He totally bounced back. I agree. I think he could have been
Sean
13
had a
or
pretty
something.
good season.
Yeah,
he did, bro.
He battled.
Yeah,
for sure. So,
all right. Since we don't really have a game coming up soon, let's do some bowl predictions.
Sounds good.
What do you got for us?
Yeah, I am thinking and kind of hoping for Pinstripe Bowl. I think Pinstripe Bowl makes the most sense. I know Penn State just played in that, Not just, sorry, but in 2014 they beat BC. Sam Ficken famously hit the extra point. He had Derek Jeter's locker. It was pretty sick. But I could see that again. I could see them playing. My prediction is going to be Penn State against UNC in the Pinstripe Bowl. I think that'd be a fun game. A lot of people in Northeast care about Penn State and UNC. A lot of alumni up there, so I think it would make sense. Being in Yankee Stadium would be fun. But yeah, that's what I think. I know there's a couple others that are in the mix right now, but that's my prediction.
Yeah, I'm going to go out and say Penn State is going to go to the Music City Bowl in Nashville, play Tennessee, the home state team there. I think that'd be pretty cool. Go out and get a win against an SEC team, last game of the year. I mean, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah.
We've seen how this team's been. But
We're going to Honky Tonk Central.
yeah,
Vegas?
all night.
I'll probably be there too.
Honky-tonk.
Let's go.
Are you 21?
I'm not.
Nah,
but
Yeah,
you
well,
will be
yeah.
on December 29th. Honky Tonk.
yeah, but as far as New Year's Bowls go for bad teams, I think going to Nashville is a pretty
I think
sweet
that'd be
place
a
to
win.
go. So
I think, they'll be fun. The bowl games are fun. Penn State always travels well. So what do you think, Sam?
Pulling out for Vegas because I want to go to the Peep Show with Mike Poorman.
oh jeez.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Yeah, off the record. No, I'm thinking Vegas would be fun, but I think realistically, that's probably the last of the three. I wouldn't mind going somewhere down south though.
No, Nashville would be sick. I think
We're
people,
going to
if they
Nashville, are
beat.
we flying?
But yeah, one thing I thought. So this is weird. Not really. But like, if Penn State had beaten Michigan State, they probably would have been Outback Bowl. And like in a way, Tampa. You know,
Yeah,
I'm kind of cool with like a 7-5 record in like either New York. It's looking like either New York, Nashville, or Vegas. I mean, that's a pretty good list.
yeah. I mean, the other thing, they could play LSU in Nashville too.
I didn't even think about that.
That'd be fun too.
See, yeah, they'll
two
play,
good programs.
Yeah.
But Brian Kelly won't be there yet, will he?
No,
He's
neither,
coaching
neither will
now.
Coach O.
No,
so
yeah.
it's in and
Go
around.
Tigers.
You'd think Coach O. You think they just keep him around for the? He'll stay around for the
They'll
bowl,
they'll
right?
keep him in the. He'll retire and they'll keep him in the Tiger cage with Mike. He'll just hang out.
No,
You don't think he'll stay for the bowl?
Franklin's going to hire him as defensive coordinator.
Oh, that's
Oh.
crazy. I saw that too.
Nuts, dude.
Next week we'll know.
Yeah, we'll
what
find
bowl
out.
we're in,
Sunday,
so-
December 5th, we'll find out.
So next week for our season finale, we're still kind of cooking something up, but we'll have that for you. Connor, Pegs,
It's kind of sick.
we'll see you in a bit.
Yep.
Thanks for
guys.
coming on, boys.
See ya.
That was another episode of Podward State. We talked to Derek Moye. Sam, what'd you think?
It's pretty cool. Shout out Derek Moye. We got some headlines, some football talk. We got one more episode for you guys coming next week. I want to get the whole crew in here. We got Jordy. We got Stutz, sound technician, editor. We got contributor Charlie Pegler. We got Connor Krause. We got Will Pegler. Shannon, I think, is that right there? We got Shannon Smith. Shout out to the crew. It's been another episode of Podward State. My name's Sam Brungo.
Grace Cunningham.
Take it easy, guys.
Adios.
Stay safe.
I'm forever popping it, pulling up and dropping it. Gotta argue with him, cause you know he love a toxic chick. Out here playing, gotta make him understand. Ain't no ring on my finger, you ain't going on my gram. Set my face, bomb, abs tight, back, stack up, shack height. Jury on me, flashlight. I've been listening last night. Hit him with that good, make you wanna act right. Broke boys don't deserve no kitty. I know that's right.